Hello and welcome to FLICKS, where the podcast where movies come first and everything else comes later. I'm your leading man, David Weaver, and joining me, as always, is my co-star, Jake Wicks.
Good morning, everybody.
That's right, soon to be afternoon. We always
Very
get
shortly here,
we always, we
yes.
always get started on this late. I don't know why. That's
I
just so
don't
weird.
know. Yeah, me
Uh,
neither.
and remember, you can find our respective YouTube channels at other YouTube channels besides this one at Gaming with Dweavis and Madcap888. And for those of you listening to the audio only version, remember you can check out our live stream at our YouTube channel for Bits and Flicks. Go search that. You should be able to find us because we are on there now. Um, and then today on Flicks, we got some things to talk about here. First of all, there is going to be some pretty bad news out there for all of you fans of the latest Scream sequels.
Oh no.
I know. Get ready for some heartache. Um, and I'm conflicted on this. I'm really curious to get your thought on this here, Mr. Wicks. We're getting a live action adaptation of The Legend of Zelda.
Yeah, I'd heard something about that.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
actually like Mario, right? Not the
No,
3D stuff. It's fully
no,
live.
yeah. So we'll talk about that a little bit.
Okay.
Um, and then we have some movies and TV stuff to talk about. On my end, I got a TV series. I think it was on Amazon Prime. I watched called Gen V. That's GEN.
Oh, yeah, I've seen the ads for that one. Hmm. Well, I don't know if you've frozen or I have, but somebody's frozen and it looks like he's gone. So, fantastic. Yeah, I think we've lost David, it looks like. Okay, well, I
We
guess you're back.
if it froze up.
Yeah, I don't know if we lost me or you, but you disappeared. So,
Okay.
since you are the stream controller, I always assume that I'm the one that disappears, but
It says it's still streaming. Is it still
yeah,
streaming? Oh yeah, we
looks
are.
like it.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Welcome back.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Anyways,
You were just
that
talking about Gen V.
yeah, okay. Well, okay, good. That gives me an idea exactly where it left off at. Um, yeah, Gen V is a spin-off series of the Amazon superhero series The Boys. So,
Right.
so
Yes, I've seen
yeah,
the ads for that.
yeah, I'll talk about that a little bit. And the thing that I know you love the most to hear me talk about outside
Walking
of the
Dead. Oh,
outside of the
oh.
Walking Dead. This is secondary to that. I saw the latest Fast and Furious movie.
Oh, yes. I've been waiting to
Yes,
hear about this.
Fast X, and boy, do I have some things to say about that. Um, but yeah, and I'm sure you have some things you probably want to bring up as well. We'll hear about that when we get into it here. But yeah, um, I guess we could dive right into our first news story here. I won't tease everybody too much here with this. Let's talk about Scream. Now, did you see the latest Scream, Scream 6, the one in the city?
I have not yet because it just, I don't know, it just seemed like a generic, let's make him shoot everybody everywhere thing. So it didn't really pique my interest as like the standard Scream affair.
So maybe this news won't affect you too much then.
Maybe.
Um, so the company Spyglass Entertainment was in early pre-production of Scream 7 is what they were calling it, a very inventive name.
Yeah.
Um, and some things happened with the casting. The first one here, and I'm gonna tiptoe around this one a little bit because we don't like talking politics on here, but unfortunately, this first part of the story does deeply involve politics. So I'll mention what happened, and we're not going to talk about the rights or wrongs of it. It's just factual what happened. We'll talk about it that way. The lead actress from both Scream 5 and 6, Melissa Barrera. Um, she apparently went on social media. She made some posts about the current war in Israel, and they and Apparently, the studio, there's a lot of backlash the studio received for her doing that for whatever reason, and they decided to let her go from the project.
Hmm.
So, um, and on top of that, the news that coincided with that, I'll leave it up to the listener or the viewer here to determine whether or not this is a coincidence or not. We get news that the younger sister to Melissa Barrera's character in that, played by Jenna Ortega, she will not be returning to the film as well, the series. And her agency has cited that there are scheduling conflicts with her filming of the second season of Wednesday
Hmm.
on Netflix.
Okay.
Now, the other thing to note here is that both of them were only contracted to make two Scream movies, so they have fulfilled their contract. So they had not actually officially signed on to the next Scream movie yet. So that's why the early stages of the writing and everything hasn't really been finalized. And also, why the after this news came out that they're basically going to have to do a complete restructuring and kind of like a mini reboot of the franchise here. It seems like because these two characters were the main characters. This was the Sidney Prescott of this new generation of Screams, the Melissa Barrera character. And not to spoil Scream 6 for anybody, but they were alive and well at the end of the last movie. So uh there's some, yeah, it's like, okay, so you basically have to pretend that those other movies just didn't happen, or you just completely divorce yourself from those characters. I don't know how you do that. Like, Scream has
Hmm.
often done that in the past by killing people.
Yeah, just put
And
them in newspapers saying, "Oh, they died. They lost. They lost to the killer," and that was the end of that story. I mean, they did that as we lose Mr. Weaver again. They did that in Final Destination a lot, where the two characters would survive, and then basically in the next movie they have like a newspaper or something that would say, "Welcome back, Mr. Weaver," where they would say,
I don't
they
know
would
what's
say,
happening.
I don't know,
It
where
just
they
keeps
would
telling
say,
me my page keeps locking up on me.
where they would basically say, like a little blurb of there was a tragic wood chipper accident where these two people ended up dying in a wood chipper. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I guess that's what happened to the two main characters from the last movie because they survived. So you can just pull the same thing and Scream, I guess, in a way.
I mean, they could do whatever they want to. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter.
Or just make a new
Um,
Scream. Is anybody really going to care?
no, I kind of wish that they would have taken this news and just not made another one. That
Also
that
true, yeah.
that if they wanted to do another thing with this franchise, like, let it breathe. Give it like 3 or 4 years, maybe, or more, and then do something else with it. Like, because I mean, we never asked for these new Scream movies, anyways. Like, there was a fitting end after four. So like that.
Yeah, that was absurd when they started bringing back all the old characters again. I'm like, I thought we finished this. And then for six, she came back again. Gale. I'm like, but we finished
Yep.
this in the last movie again. Why do you keep coming back? Like, go away.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
The only thing six did that was somewhat interesting was them confirming that Kirby from part four did not die.
Hmm.
The played by Hayden Pantier, I think is how you say her last name. Where everybody, she was kind of a favorite for of a lot of people in that movie because she was kind of like a from the original franchise Randy. She was kind of like a Randy type character where she was really into movies and stuff, and everybody really liked her. And then her death was left ambiguous. And then I guess they decided in part six, they're like, okay, we're gonna solve this, and we're just gonna bring her back. She's alive. I was like, okay. So
Yeah, leave everything ambiguous, then you can bring them back if you wanted to.
pretty much, yeah. So I don't know. I left. I've left the last couple Scream movies pretty numb. Like, I just take them or leave them. Like, whatever. So unless you felt some sort of like connection to those characters, the two sisters, this really shouldn't harm anybody's enjoyment of whatever movie they do next, because most of the time it's more or less about the mystery and trying to figure out who's killing who and why, and it doesn't matter who your lead characters are. So,
Right, exactly. Yeah,
uh,
I don't
so
know. I guess it doesn't really affect me one way or the other.
yeah,
I don't know. All the trailers for the new Scream just left me going, why? I don't want that from Scream. So it's
yeah,
kind of like Saw. I'm a huge Saw fan, but I never saw some of the recent ones just because it didn't seem interesting. Now with the reboot, it seems like they're going back to that good kind of formula that made Saw great. And so
hmm
now I'm kind of like, ooh, I got to see that one when it comes out, but I never did. So now I got to find what streaming service it's on. Good
oh,
luck finding what streaming services it's on.
speaking of that,
Oh,
should we
that's
move?
right. I forgot. Oops.
No,
Unintentional segue.
yeah, unintentional. We'll take it though. We'll take it. Here, this is something I've talked about often, and I'm going to utilize our thing here to do
As
this.
long as it doesn't freeze.
Yeah. So okay. Yeah, I'm not sure if this is the thing that's been freezing us or not.
No, maybe.
Um, so this is a site I go to determine where to find things to watch them. I just realized that like my name is just like completely blocking my face.
That's good for me, at least.
Now I'm just a hat.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it's called Just Watch. I just go to justwatch.com. When you get here, this is what it looks like. This is their main tab. But in order to use this thing to its best, you can do a search, which you can just put in whatever movie you're looking for. But a good way of doing this, especially if you know what streaming services you have, you do this right here. You come to this, and right now they have all of them selected up here. You see that?
Mm-hmm.
It just goes forever.
You have a lot of streaming services.
This is not me. This is just their
Yeah,
standard
right.
default where they select everything.
Okay.
But what you do here is you come in here and you just click one. So like right here, you get it tells you new added,
Oh,
tells you
yes,
when it
Lego
was.
Friends is out.
Yeah, right.
I've
It
been waiting
tells
for
you
that.
when they were added, and you could just scroll down the timeline here for this particular streaming service.
Hmm.
So you could just track when things came on there. I don't particularly like that. Um, and you can add this on, and it basically combines Netflix and Prime Video now. So now you get the same thing, but it shows both streaming services, and you can just keep adding things on as you go. You
Look
know,
at all that amazing content.
all this and here and whatnot. So yeah, you just keep adding that onto there, and you can just do this also, movies, and does that. But you can also do, where is it? Um, where is it? Not that. There's a way to switch this here. Yeah, you can change. You could select the release year, which is nice. But there should also be another feature here. Set that. Um, hmm. There's another way to look at this. But anyways, um, so you go through here and it tells you what streaming service you're looking at right here. So this is MGM Plus, your favorite movie, Transformers.
Yes.
Um, but here's the cool thing: if you click on this, it'll tell you everywhere you can get this.
Hmm.
So it tells you could stream it right here, and subs means subscription, not subtitles, and then rental right there. But also tells you where you can buy it, and what prices you can get for it, so you can compare the prices as well. Yeah, you go on here like, oh yeah, DirecTV, I'm gonna buy it for $25. Sure,
Yikes.
exactly.
Who
And
would
then
buy
like me,
anything digitally for $25?
I don't know, I don't know. DirecTV
Uh,
is always the most expensive. Um, but yeah, so you can just match and compare here, and and they give you a bunch of breakdowns on the movies and other things. It's all a pretty well-rounded site, and I should note here, and you told me to note this at the outset, but I'll say it right now: we are not sponsored by these people. I'm not getting paid to do this. This is something I actually use. Like whenever if you've listened to this podcast forever, and I've talked about streaming and the confusing mess that streaming is, this is what I do. This is how I find things. Like this is the only way to find things. And this right here, if you wanted like a virtual video store to walk into to see what all the new things are,
Right.
this is the best way to do it because once again, it defaults to every platform selected. If you just want to see what came out recently in the past week or two, this is how you do it. Right here. It lists everything that came out from everywhere.
Huh. Yeah, it's sad that somebody had to create this because of the giant disaster of a mess that streaming services are.
Mhm.
I keep seeing Wrong Turn go by. I guess it was
Yeah,
staggered through the different
different.
companies.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, cuz you'll find that a lot of the like the especially like the ones that are on free apps and things like that are also on subscription services. Where the benefits there are subscription services, you don't get the ads, right? So,
Right.
um, but yeah, I don't
Hmm.
know. You know, TV shows you can do that as well. Uh, so upcoming,
That's
and
pretty
then
fancy.
right here you could do upcoming, and you can sort them, you know, different ways, alphabetical. So I don't know. I think I think
Totally Spies. I
I
used to
think it.
watch that as a kid. Oh, wow.
I should note also that anybody listening to this and not watching it,
Oops.
you should go to our live stream and see this for yourself. Consider this incentive to go watch us for once.
Yeah, did you
Uh,
mention the name of where you're at? I forget.
yeah, it's
Okay,
justwatch.com.
just in
Yeah,
case.
yeah, I think I've mentioned them quite a bit over our history on here
And
because
this is free?
yeah, it's just a free site.
It
There's a
looks like you
lot
can
of
sign in to personalize it more.
yeah, yeah. I've never done that. There's no need to do that. But yeah, you can if you want to. I have enough accounts on the internet. Um, there's plenty of other sites out there that do this. This has been the most functional, the most easiest to navigate that I've encountered. So
Looks pretty simple.
yeah, yeah. So there you go.
Wow. Some way to make sense of the myriad of places to watch things.
And like I said, if you know the name of the movie, just go plug it in, and it'll give you breakdown all that stuff. You don't need to do it that way. That's if you just want to scroll all of your streaming services without having to open up each individual app to see what they have.
Right. Yeah, because if you just wanted to go to a movie night and say, I really feel like watching the latest Transformers movie, and then you could
Yeah.
put that in and go, well, it's free here for the rest of the week,
Mhm.
or something like that, and actually target in on that one film.
Yep.
Interesting. That definitely seems very handy, especially, someone like you that has 10, 12, 15 streaming services, trying to figure out where you're going to go each night. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, because I don't know. Yeah, it's just too much to figure out where everything is.
A little bit.
I still don't know where I watched Transformers, whether it was Paramount or Prime or some free channel.
I
It's just
think it had to have been Paramount Plus. That because I've seen it on there. So
which is weird because we don't have a Paramount Plus subscription. So I don't know how we got
you
there. We're
do
in the
now.
Prime. Yeah, we're in the Prime Video app or something. I don't know.
Well, that's the other thing is like the cross pollination of all these different streaming apps with one another. Because like you could get like a new subscription deal on your phone, and it comes with
Mm,
these services, or like it's like I subscribe to Hulu. Oh, I get Disney Plus with that. Oh, okay. I get ESPN. Oh, I didn't know I had that. Like if
right.
you subscribe to Max, right? Then you get Discovery and you get the Food Network and you get all that stuff through them. It's like, okay, yeah, it's impossible to know what you have and what you don't. Um,
Pretty much. Yeah. Kind of trying to deal with all the bundling now. I
hmm
guess. Yeah, that's the other issue that's happening. Where it's just like, oh, I guess Prime is part of Paramount, or now I guess if I remember correctly, Pluto TV is owned by Paramount. So I'm like, well, it's going to go downhill at some point then. But I've noticed a lot more Paramount ads. I'm like, oh, this makes sense. They own it. So who knows what you get with that now, or what's happening, or yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. We've talked ad nauseum about streaming services and the issues that they face and our predictions on the future and stuff like that. So you guys can all go listen to us talk about that previously. So,
It's too bad you can't have a centralized server with all movies and TV shows, and then you having a certain streaming service would pick. Like, I feel like watching Transformers today, but you're on Disney, and it's like, okay, well, I'm just going to buy it, but then it comes into Disney Plus because you already own that, and then you can watch it there without paying an extra fee, and then Disney would get a small cut, and they'd have to
mhm.
pay Paramount or whatever, however that works. But you just, you can search for other things and put it onto that service as like a temporary thing, where it just pushes it through their network.
Yeah,
That would be
yeah.
nice, and just, I don't know.
I don't know either. I
Until
don't know.
then, use
With
that.
with the advent of streaming, all the studios out there suddenly got greedy and they didn't want to share their stuff with other people, and they're like, "It's ours. You can't have it." It's
Yep,
like,
it's the nature of greedy corporate people. Same thing happened in the video game industry. It's like, well,
mm.
we could have our games on Steam, but why not make our own EA platform and steal all the games back so that we get all the revenue? It's like, I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, eventually they come around because they realize that that's not the best way to make money.
How who knew having your stuff on every platform makes you more money?
Yeah,
What?
yeah. Who knew that? Like, if you're a studio like Paramount and you made a Transformers movie, that maybe shopping that thing around and having people pay you for access to your film to other platforms while you also have it on yours might actually make you more money.
Yeah, remember when Netflix used to be the place to watch everything?
Hmm.
Yeah,
If
yeah.
I'm not going to show it here, but if you want a really sad state of affairs of what Netflix has become because of all this, go to that thing I just showed you, the Just Watch thing. Select Netflix and select like all the movies that they've released this year. It's astoundingly sad what their actual content is on that channel about what's coming through there. It's like 50% are like stand-up comedy specials. And then there's like a handful of documentaries, and then there's, like we said, all the foreign stuff. It's like, what? What has Netflix become?
I don't
If you wonder
know.
why you never can find almost anything new or interesting on Netflix, um, that'll put it all in perspective for you.
Used to be the go-to place. It's so
I don't
sad.
know. But let's move on here. Did you have anything you want to talk about, or you want to dive into Zelda?
We can go with Zelda. I think I only
Yeah.
really have one thing to mention at some point. So,
Okay. Well,
yeah.
there's not a whole lot of information on this. This is like not even in pre-production. This is in like they're developing it. They're trying to figure out what it is. The only pieces of information we have is that it's going to be live action. Mr. Miyamoto is going to be involved in it as at a producer level, from what I understand. So Nintendo is going to be involved in this the same way they were with the Mario movie. Um, and the director at this point is a man named Wes Ball, and he is the guy that made the three Maze Runner movies. I'm pretty sure he made other stuff, but those are the things that those most notable about him.
Hmm.
And I'll I don't know if this is good or bad. Um, kind of a uh, what am I thinking here? Recommendation, but I think out of all those, they call them YA movies, YA, young adult movies.
Oh,
Your Hunger
okay.
Games, your Twilights, and all that stuff. And that's what Maze Runner kind of falls into that category.
Same as the book
At,
genre.
yeah, all out of all of those, I think the Maze Runner trilogy was the most competent. Like it is it something I would recommend to people? Maybe. I think it kind of transcended that genre, and I think a lot of it had to do with its direction. So, and the fact that he made all three of those, and it all felt cohesive, and it was an overarching storyline that made sense, and it didn't get bogged down in the whole relationship nonsense that those things often do. I feel like if they're gonna pick anybody from that class of genre of movies to come into this, he's probably the best one. Is he the guy I would select overall? Probably not. Um, but
Is there nobody
I
with more of a fantasy background? Like maybe the Dungeons and Dragons team that just came out or something? Or
Yeah, that would have been good. I would have that would because they probably would have brought some nice humor into it because we want some humor in our Zelda, so a little bit. So
I don't know. I'm gonna put this in the giant flop category for now.
okay.
I think the first thing I would say is that I don't know why they don't just ride the coattails of Mario. That was such a phenomenal success. Why wouldn't you just keep going with Illumination and make another movie with that studio like that? To flip everything on its head and go, now we're gonna have live action people. That doesn't usually work very well, especially for something fantasy like that, because all the enemies are gonna have to be 3D. Pretty much everything in the film is gonna have to be CG, and then you're gonna have this random live action Link guy running around.
Hmm.
I don't. I don't know. I don't think that's good. And then my other question is, what universe is it going to be in? Which Link are we? If it's Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, I don't want anything to do with that.
I mean,
Like, what are we talking?
they should do. I think they should like split the difference and do Ocarina of Time because
Yeah,
I feel like the time travel part of that could provide some interesting wrinkles for a film narrative.
right. Then you have to have two actors, I guess, a child and an adult
Hmm.
actor.
Hmm.
I mean, I hope they just tell an original story, but
Mm,
I
yeah.
just wonder what universe, like what time period
Well,
it would be set in.
it's funny that you mentioned that because this is the unlike Mario, there is no cohesive like world building that Zelda's ever done. It's like all
Right.
over the place.
You'll have
So
Ganondorf and Link and Zelda and the Triforce
yeah.
and the Master Sword. I guess that's about it.
So yeah, and it's like all the Zelda purists out there, if there is such a thing, um, won't be able to knock it too much because they're like, no, that's not how it works. Hey, like at one point, Link turned into a wolf, you know?
That's
It,
true, yeah.
so we could do whatever the heck we want.
Yeah, Breath of the Wild. Well, Tears of the Kingdom specifically makes me scared now that he's driving cars around and stuff. Breath of the
Oh,
Wild had the motorcycle in the end, which was kind of stupid, but
oh,
ah,
you know what we're gonna get. This is what we're gonna get the classic fish out of water. It's
no,
gonna
no, don't say that. He's gonna be
it's
New York.
Yeah, he's gonna be pulled
No,
out of
no,
Hyrule and go into New York,
no,
and we're
no.
gonna see Zelda wearing his tights and everything, walking through the streets, looking up at the skyscrapers.
On his cell phone. Well, I guess
Yeah,
he had a cell phone in Tears of the Kingdom, so
that's
why
right.
not?
And he's gonna be walking around. Excuse me, where can I find the Triforce? And people are like, "Get out of here, idiot!"
Oh
We get to see
no.
him try to navigate the streets and understand street lights, try to figure out why people are talking, what money is. Like, I have rupees. We don't accept rupees here.
He's over there cutting the grass.
Hey, 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 out there in Central Park. Hey, hey, hey.
Oh man, all this is probably true. That's the worst part. This is probably all what the script is right now. They're like, oh crap, they're onto us. We need to change it. I mean, once again, Miyamoto's there. I hope that helps. I hope he's there to say, no, that's not Zelda.
I, I want the story pitch room to, like, when they go in there, it's like, all right, let me set the stage for you. New York City. And
Yeah, where
Miyamoto's like, stop.
where would it be? Because Mario, that's New York. That's his domain. So what would he be like? Kansas? Is that where Zelda would be
You
set?
could you could go rural with him. You can. I think you can. Like, have him out on a ranch and
You're
have
right.
it
Yeah.
that's where he meets Epona.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And what's that I already know what the comedy relief's going to be. What was
Tingle?
that? Yeah, Tingle.
How did I
Yes.
know immediately that's where you were going with
Yeah,
that?
Tingle's going to be
You know, Tingle's actually like 40 or 50, I think, right? That's what makes
Uh,
it so weird and comedic and
yeah,
creepy.
he always looked like an old dude wearing an elf costume. Yeah, yeah, I love Tingle is so creepy.
Yeah.
I love that I think he actually got his own game at one point.
Yes. Yeah,
It
he
was
did.
like a
Yeah.
Nintendo DS or something like
I
that.
think so, right?
Yeah,
Oh
that's just
man.
yeah. So clearly they have lots of options here. He needs to.
I'm putting this in the fail category.
He's at the farm. He's gonna have to chase all the chickens around
Yeah,
and
the
catch the
Cuckoos.
chickens.
Oh, I like you said, there's so little information on this. I could speculate all day, but this
And
isn't something I want.
we need to archive this conversation, and a year from now, when we hear what they're gonna do, be like, all right, how accurate were we?
Right? Hopefully it's not like a guy, like the reverse, where it's a real person in
No,
like Chicago and then he gets warped into the world.
can, yeah, right. Can we discuss what casting for this thing's gonna look like?
In
Like,
today's day and age, no, I'm
uh,
afraid to.
yeah, I'm a little afraid to touch upon that as well, but
Yeah, I don't.
um,
No thanks.
yeah, because well, let me narrow this down and make this a bit more safe of a topic. Do they go with a no-name person or do they go with somebody who's established?
I don't know. I'm trying to think. I'm trying to run through some of the younger dude actors, like a Chris Pine or somebody that could have.
That would be amazing if he does. He's the voice of
Yeah,
Mario and then he actually plays Zelda.
yeah. I'm trying to think of somebody that would be kind of. Have to be somebody that's good with swords, like a Ray Park.
Hmm.
Somebody that's actually kind of competent like that. I don't know. I
I
would think for a Zelda, you'd have to go with somebody that's pretty popular. And looking at Mario, all
I
the
don't
talent they got for that.
I think that they could probably get away with a fresh face. I really think they probably could.
Yeah, all he needs to do is go, "Hot, yeah,"
Because
and
here's what you
stuff
do:
like
you
that.
go with a fresh face for Zelda, for Link, and then
Hmm.
for Princess Zelda, you get somebody that's a bit more established. I think that might
Yeah,
be the way you handle that,
right.
maybe. And Ganondorf will 100% be some sort of well-known character
Like Chris
actor.
Rock.
Oh my god,
Somebody like
what?
that.
What?
Or not Chris
Chris
Rock,
Rock?
sorry. I said that was the first. The Rock.
I
I
tell
can't.
you what, Link,
I don't think that
you
would
ain't
work.
getting this Triforce. That's a terrible Chris Rock, but still.
Oh my god. Hey, we should have you be Ganondorf.
There you go.
Sorry, The Rock.
Oh,
That
the
I forget.
Rock.
I forget. There's multiple rocks in the world. Who would have thought?
I had no idea that's what you actually meant. Was the Rock.
Yeah,
Do you smell what Ganondorf is cooking?
I'm trying to think of like a hilarious but almost fitting option of people that are out there. Who I don't know. Live action stuff is always so bad. It's going to be the worst people that you can imagine, right?
I
It
mean,
has to be.
if we want to laugh at it and make fun of it, yes, it's going to be the worst people imaginable. But like the reality of it, they're probably going to pick more safer options, a bit more bland, and not something you can easily make fun of.
Yeah, so who plays Tingle then?
Oh man, Miyamoto. Cameo by Miyamoto as Tingle.
Roofa, roofa.
Tell me that wouldn't be amazing. Best casting choice ever.
Oh boy,
Just see
I
him up
don't
there with that
know.
big grin on his face. It's like, yeah, I could totally picture that.
Yeah, we wouldn't have to put Reggie Phil's name in there somewhere too.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. The whole plot revolves around rebooting the Game Boy Micro.
Game Boy Advance Micro.
Yeah.
Mine's still working to this day. I don't
But
know. This is a
yeah,
horrible idea. I saw that. I'm like, all right, cool. But the live action thing is like, oh, never mind.
no.
I'll pass. I hope Miyamoto can do something here.
It
I
would be
hope.
nice. It'd be nice to have a good Zelda movie. I wouldn't mind that, but
I'm surprised they went with Zelda first. I feel like something like a Metroid would have been a safer choice. Just put someone in a spacesuit and have them run around shooting things, and
They want that property value, that IP value out of this. Like Zelda is a well established commodity outside of gaming.
yeah,
Metroid, not so much.
yeah, until it's the 25th anniversary and they don't do anything for it. I'm
Damn.
still salty about that.
Shade Throne.
Yeah, the Mario got all these games, this collection. Where's my Ocarina of Time Majora's Mask Twilight Princess Switch collection?
Nope.
Yeah, where's my anything for that?
Nope.
Mario. And then a whole year of Mario this year.
That's right.
Uh, that's alright, we got Tears of the Kingdom. I'm happy about that.
Um. All right. So I don't really have any of the news type things. So
No?
no, that was it. Not there's not much happening. I guess the actors strike is coming to an end.
It's what I'd
I don't
heard.
really feel like it's like whatever about that.
They'll be striking again for something else. We
It's
don't get
been
enough coffee.
it has been fun watching the networks struggle with finding content to put on their channels
Which is funny
during
because there's billions of people that'd be like, "Oh, I'll do acting. I'll take my
well
big
yeah,
break."
well that's the thing. They can't hire scabs.
Uh,
So,
that's part of the
um
contract.
no, it's just that it's shown as not good faith negotiating if they're hiring people to come
Oh,
in and take their jobs from them.
boo hoo.
That's just the way unions work, man.
That's yeah.
Um,
I don't know if Disney said, "Well, look,
because
all our people are on strike.
because
David, do you want to go act in this Marvel movie?"
yeah, sure, totally.
Exactly.
I could be Thanos, right?
You could be Ganondorf. There you go.
Yeah, Ganondorf. Jeez. Um, no, but the reason I bring that up is because we during this season usually there's a TV series on CBS we watch called Ghosts.
Hmm.
It's like a little 30-minute like comedy show. Um, and because of the strikes, they weren't able to make a new episodes. So what did they do? They started airing the UK version of the show that they ripped off for their show. So this is like a wake up moment for a lot of people where they realize that a lot of their shows that they watch over here are actually stolen from over there in Europe.
Yeah.
Because it's like I wonder how many people saw this are like, wait a minute, why did they make a UK version of the show instead of just new episodes of our show? Boy, let me put that in perspective for you. It's because the other show existed first,
Right. Yep.
and they can't film anything new, so they just bought the rights to the show that they stole from and brought that over to fill in the gaps. I love it. I love the transparency that happens during these strikes because you get to really see just how the machine works and how easily it falls apart.
Right. Yeah. I...
Because reality shows, game shows, they're all over the place right now. Like they're already infesting everything, but they're everywhere now because those aren't part of the SAG stuff, the contracts and stuff like that. So
Yeah, because they're
they
not
they
acting.
yep yep.
So they should have
So
just made like a Walking Dead game show and put it in the Walking Dead time slot. There you go.
sure sure
Easy. I could be a
easy
producer.
easy peasy lemon squeezy.
Yeah, why not?
But anyways, so I wasn't even going to talk about that. We still did, but it's fun to make fun of. Like that's the only reason I like talking about it because it's just fun.
Yeah, I don't know.
Um, but anyways, did you want to talk about? You said you might have one thing. What do you got?
Yeah, I don't remember if I'd mentioned it or meant to mention it a long time ago, but I was watching Eden Zero. I'm not sure if I ever mentioned that on here,
Hmm.
but that is an anime series, and it's basically the follow up show to Fairy Tale. So it's from the same creators, Fairy Tale and Rave Master and all that. But it's a brand new show. It's funny because his characters always seem to look kind of the same. So it's like his trademark, the same type of girl and guy characters, and the little animals, and what is his name, Plu, the little dog with the carrot nose and stuff. But
Hmm.
it's from that same guy, and It's 2 seasons in now, and it's actually, for once in my life, I'm actually caught up on a series because I was
Wow.
watching the first season. I'm like, oh, this is really good. So I started watching the second season, and I ended up hitting a wall because I ran up to the broadcast. So it felt good to finally be, in line with something airing because, I kind of want to watch Fairy Tale, but by now I'm like 600 episodes behind. So it's kind of like I don't even know if I want to invest the time into
Hmm.
doing that. It's like I'd love to watch One Piece, but it's 1,000 episodes plus, so it's not even worth the time investment. But this one I stayed current with. Took a hiatus and let them kind of build up the finals of the series, and I finished all that now. So I'm through season 1 and 2. I believe season 3 is in the works, which is exciting. And it's basically kind of like a more of a space adventure, where Fairy Tale is more of obviously a fairy tale adventure, and it kind of follows their adventures through this weird, wacky universe of planets. And I don't know, it's kind of hard to describe because it's so out there. Like there's fish that float around in space and stuff, and it's
What's weird about that?
nothing. I've seen it before. NASA showed us stuff like that, so it's out there.
That's where our constellations come from.
That's where constellations come from. Well, sure. What do you think is in what is the Pisces galaxy? Or the
Yeah.
Pisces constellation galaxy, whatever you want to call it, that world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but I guess kind of the basis of the show is they have these kind of superpowers, I guess you'd call them. Where, for example, the main character Shiki can kind of manipulate gravity.
Hmm.
So it's not like he's flying through the air. It's because he's falling. He's changed the way gravity points. So he's able
Oh.
to kind of manipulate stuff like that. So, like if a bullet's flying at him, he can change the gravity to stop it and push it back the other way.
Okay.
Things like that. They all have their different kind of powers. One guy can manipulate mechanical stuff on the fly. So he can like grab a gun and his power goes into it and he can reconfigure all the internals and turn it from like a machine gun to something else quickly. He's kind of good at hacking, things like that. Um, One of the other main girl's powers, I won't really say too much because it's kind of more of the story point of how that happens.
Hmm.
But there's all kinds of different things that kind of they get into, kind of revolving around his grandpa and what's happening there, and chasing after him, and then getting into these battles and different kind of groups that they get in fights with. And I don't know, I really liked it. It's a fun little action kind of comedy anime series. It's got some of your fan service in there. It's kind of just your typical. I don't know. Have you ever seen Fairy Tale or any pictures of it or?
No.
Okay, that's a pretty popular series. So if you've seen Fairy Tale or kind of Rave Master, you probably know what to expect from this series. And if you like more of the space element and kind of superpower type things, I mean, it looks a lot like Fairy Tale. I believe they had the kind of the same sort of weird powers that kind of go up their arms and stuff, and
Hmm.
it's very similar. So if you liked those, I would say give this one a watch. It's still pretty early on, so it is a full series, so it's 25 episodes per season. So it's not
Damn.
like your 12, like the shorter kind of. I guess 12 is more of your traditional anime length, and the 25 is like the big budget, like your
Yeah.
Gundams and Dragon Ball Z's and stuff. So it is up there. So if you want to get in now before it's way into its run, then I would recommend it. It was one of those series that I found myself watching, 2 episodes a night, and they'd go quick. Where it's not like one of those you're kind of eating, and then you finish eating, you're like, oh man, do I really have to finish this whole episode? Not
Hmm.
because it's bad, but just because I don't know, it's just another episode. Naruto started doing that to me, where I'd be in the middle of the second episode and I'd be done eating. I'm like, oh man, I guess I have 15 more minutes to go. Not because it was bad, but just because, I don't know, there's something about it that didn't move quick, or maybe I was just burnt out after the other 200 episodes that I had watched. But this one, it went quick. So
Okay.
I would recommend it if you're into that kind of stuff.
Where did you see it at? Where was it at?
Some legitimate site
Oh,
that
okay.
was legitimate and that
Okay.
I'm subscribed to and pay for.
Okay. Well, anybody listening to this, just go find yourself a legitimate site that you subscribe and pay for,
Um,
and check it out.
I may or may not own a wooden ship that goes on certain bodies of water.
Oh. Okay. Okay.
Well, why don't we look at your fantastic service and you can find it for us. Where can you find it? I'm
Oh,
assuming
should we
Crunchyroll.
should we put that to the test here?
Yes, my guess would be Crunchyroll, maybe Netflix because it's like you said foreign-ish, and Funimation has. Oh no, Funimation doesn't have a streaming service anymore because they bought somebody, didn't they? Is
I
Funimation the place? I don't know. Something happened with the Funimation streaming service, I
Okay.
believe.
Here we go. We're putting this to the
Can
test.
you actually do this?
Let's see. Is it spelled out zero?
Yeah, EDENS space ZERO. Let's see if you can actually. There it is. Okay, okay. So we've got the search.
There you go. You can stream it on Netflix.
Is Crunchyroll even on this service?
On Just Watch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Wow, I would have expected it to be there.
Yeah, but yeah, you can stream it on
Ooh,
Netflix.
only season 1. Oh, is that because it's only streaming the English version?
Yeah, because it says 2 seasons. Select season 2 is not available for streaming.
I wonder if that's because it hasn't been put in English yet, because it just finished airing in Japan.
Okay. So
Wow, I
yeah,
would have thought Netflix would have hopped on the. Well, I don't know. I guess they don't have subtitles for it either yet. So,
yeah.
so yeah, season 1. I guess if it piques your interest, you can
There you go.
go watch it on Netflix. Woohoo! Your service works. Look at that.
I know, right?
That's totally where I watched it. By the way, I was watching it on Netflix.
You just forgot.
I forgot.
I understand. That happens to me a lot too.
There's so many streaming services that I mean, you understand. I couldn't
You
remember
do.
where I watched it.
You really do. Really
Yes, Netflix. It's my go-to for anime.
do. Okay.
Other than that, I started the series Dempa Kyoshi on Netflix, and I'm only like halfway through it, but it's basically some kind of a otaku teacher, and he is kind of a lazy otaku, but he's super intelligent. So he's like he could do physics stuff, and he's really good at gaming. He loves anime and whatnot, and then he gets forced to be a teacher, and so he's teaching a group of kids, and it seems like each episode kind of revolves around maybe a 1 or 2 episode arc of helping the students. They all come in with problems, and he helps them. So it's kind of like a feel good series where I think like one of them there's a bully and he's bullying everybody. So his trademark thing is like it's time to start the lecture, and he'll go like it's time to start the lecture, and he'll interact with these students and then kind of have them turn over a new leaf. Like one of them's a bully, he has them turn into a better person by doing different things. In that case, he challenged them to a game of this and that, and they thought they were playing this video game, but in the end, it ends up being real soccer. Anyways, one other person is like this secret singer. She does it, but she's too shy and embarrassed, and I don't know. Just helping different students with their problems. It's kind of a more or less, it seems like a one-off episode or two, that little thing, and then they move on to a different little problem. So I
Okay.
don't know. It's enjoyable so far. The art's not super great. It's kind of low budget in certain areas, like the faraway shots and whatnot. So I don't know if it's really what you'd call like a AAA anime series. But for what it is, I'm enjoying it, and that's kind of what I'm in right now.
Okay.
Yeah. But other than that, that's really been taking up all my. I've been watching a lot of Pluto, honestly.
Yeah.
Just a lot of random junk on Pluto. That's about it. Yeah. I know. I'm sad.
No, it's fine.
It's.
It's fine. Don't don't ever like knock yourself down for such things.
I have to because we're about to hear what you have to watch, and it's gonna sound really sad and pathetic.
Uh,
Compare what I'm
I
watching.
certainly have a gamut here of things. I'll start out with the Gen V series I watched. I think it was like 8 episodes, your standard streaming
Woo.
length or whatever. Um, the way it's a spin-off of The Boys is it's of course in the same world universe. I hate using the word universe anymore.
Ugh, that's a
Um,
trap. Yeah.
but it focuses in on the superheroes as they're growing up, and more or less it kind of skips straight to like them going to college, but it's a college for grooming them for preparations for them to become how to use their powers.
It
At
kind of
first,
seemed like X-Men to me when I saw those
yeah,
ads.
yeah, I was like, is this like a school for the gifted? It's like yes, um, but the thing that I kind of like that they did a little bit of a twist with that I liked was it wasn't just them there to go there to learn how to use their powers and how to control them and how to use them for good and how to be superheroes. They also did a class based thing where like, oh, this one person, she can only her power is that she can grow small, but she doesn't have any like superpowers beyond that. It's like, okay, well, you can't really be a hero if all you do is grow small. So we're gonna move you off of the superhero track, and we're gonna put you more of in an entertainment role,
But what
and
about
you're gonna
Ant-Man?
you're gonna go into like movies and TV shows and things like that. And then they also have like marketing classes on how to market yourself as a superhero,
Huh.
and like so they bring in like the capitalist side of of the superhero world in the boys, which makes perfect sense because the superheroes in that world, they're all driven by corporations. You know, they have sponsors and things like that. So like the fact that they have a school that helps prepare people that have these powers on how to best utilize them makes a whole lot of sense. um the thing though, like, okay, so there's a few things to note here. While the first episode or two starts out like, oh, we got a school atmosphere, I'd say by the end of the second episode, maybe the third episode, um, the school aspect doesn't mean anything anymore.
That's always fun.
It's just like, oh yeah, there's classes. You don't see anybody go to class. Like, there's a few scenes that happen in a classroom, but they're just it's just a place to have a scene at. It does The classroom doesn't mean anything. Um, so that part was a bit disappointing because I was really interested in this idea of them like setting these people up on how to and guiding them on how to use their powers and how they're divided by their powers and all that sort of stuff. It does remind me a lot of like I think it was like an early 2000s movie called Sky High. That had Kurt Russell in it, where it was a school for superheroes. It basically was taking the Harry Potter thing that had just gotten really big at that point, and they're like, "Ooh, let's apply that to superheroes." Where the idea in that movie was you had superheroes, and you determined whether or not you're a superhero or you're a sidekick, and that was the idea of that. It's like, oh, your power, you're relegated to sidekick, um,
Right.
and that kind of like I like that dichotomy, and I kind of wish they would explore that a bit more in this, but for anybody that was really into the boys, I feel like this is a good spin-off because it kind of gives you more of the same, which in this case is a good thing. It's extremely graphic, very violent, very bloody, and a lot of absurd things with the weird powers that people have and how they apply them to things. Um, the girl that shrinks, I'll tell you this, like they introduce some new sex acts about what happens when you have a really tiny girl. I'll leave it at that. Um, and they show you they 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 the show does not shy away from showing you everything. Like,
Okay.
so take that for what you will. Um, and the story that they chose to tell, I think it works. I think it works because it does play into the greater arc that's happening in the proper series itself. And I kind of liked where it was going. The cliffhanger they end the whole season on, I thought was not good. It left too many unanswered questions in my opinion. Like they could have done something a bit better there in from my perspective, but whatever. It was enjoyable. And if you watch The Boys, I would definitely recommend it because you're gonna get that same vibe from this. And the cast and everybody, I thought they did a good job. And the characters are all, for the most part, the ones you're supposed to like, you like. The ones you're supposed to hate, you hate. So they did a good job there. Um, yeah. So I don't know. I don't have much more to say about that. So if you have Prime and you like The Boys, go check it out.
Yes, definitely advertised a bunch. So I
Yeah,
know about that one.
There you go. And then I have a leftover from something I watched during Halloween. So sorry about that.
Mm,
It was another Amazon Prime exclusive called Totally Killer,
hmm.
and this was one that I wasn't sure how I felt about as it played out. So the premise is it's a serial killer movie that has time travel involved.
Oh.
So there's this legend of this killer from back in the 80s who had a string of kills, was never caught. Cut, shoot forward to present day, and suddenly the killer reemerges and kills our main character, is a teenager, kills her mom, who was part of the group of girls that was killed in the 80s. And now this is where the absurdity comes in. Like, I cannot justify this at all, other than they're just like, we got to have time travel. Like, it just so happened that the one of the girl's friends is making a time travel device for the science fair, and she can't get it to work.
That's so
And
stupid.
and through happenstance, when
Uh,
the main girl starts getting attacked by the killer, like something happens to the device that triggers it by accident, and it shoots her back to the past on the date of when the killings started. And once you get past that really bumpy premise of how they get there, like it's total eye rolling how they get there. But once they get there, I actually kind of liked what they did, because it was basically I know how things are going to play out. I know these three girls are going to die. I need to save them. Um, and the way that they change things around based on like her interactions with people, and things don't play out exactly the way they're supposed to, and we see how they're actually impacting present day, and things changing in present day, and people realizing things are changing. That sort of stuff was kind of neat. I thought they did a good job there. And the other part of this that I think they did a pretty decent job of was the mystery of who the killer is. Because they have the whole person's wearing a mask thing, right? They always have to have a
mm-hmm.
mask, and they try to make it stand out as something unique. Um, they did a good job of keeping me guessing of who it could be. And then at one point, they even did a good job of like, it's like, oh wow, okay, well clearly I was wrong about that. Because I'll say though that um, one of my guesses was that, oh, we got the Scream thing where there's two killers or something like that. I was both right and wrong. I'll leave it at that.
It's because it's the younger and the older version of himself or herself.
See, that's what I thought too. I'm not going to say whether or not that's true or not, but I was surprised at how they did this. So I was like, okay, you guys get points for that. So overall, I thought it was fine. It had some fun moments to it. I don't know if you're into the serial killer stuff like Scream, but you want a little time travel twist in there. You could do a lot worse. It's fine. It was fine. It was fun. So yeah, I don't have much more to say beyond that. Just a reminder, it's only on Amazon Prime. It was one of their original movies, so you're not going to find it anywhere else.
Ooh, that's easy.
Yeah. I'll dive into Fast X here.
Is
Fast and
this
Furious
actually
Part
number
10.
10?
Yes.
Okay.
So my roller coaster ride with this franchise, um, aside from the first movie, which I thought was fine, like the next like 3 to 4 movies were all kind of worthless. I kept wondering who the hell's going to see these? Why are they making money? I don't get it. Then I think it was part five came out, and that was the one where they actually did a complete franchise retooling, where they changed it from street racing into these people being like super spy agents for the government, and like having superpowers with their cars, and like it just started defying all sorts of logic. But what happened though was it made it fun. Like the movies became fun. Like they were total turn off your brain. Like I can enjoy this because of how stupid it is.
Right.
But there was still some semblance of structure and plausibility to some of the stuff they were doing that made you be able to still It was grounded still in some way. The way like a good superhero movie is grounded, where okay, this person has superpowers, superheroes don't exist, but the world still feels real, right? It's like
Right.
okay, there's something there that I can still latch onto. That's something that's normal. Well, that continued up through I think maybe part 7, and then at that point they really just lost me. They went full absurd. Just when they brought in like they were going to have them fight a nuclear submarine with their cars. I'm like, okay, no.
Yes. That's how I would do it.
It's like, yeah, like one of my good friends and one of my people that originated me doing podcasts once told me, and I still think it's very accurate, that the cars for these characters in these movies are their super suits. I think
Seems
that's
like it.
that it's like Iron Man puts on his iron suit, you know, Dominic Toretto, Vin Diesel puts on his like Camaro or whatever type of muscle car he has. That's his super suit because he could do no wrong in it.
Right.
And he's fully protected while he's in it. It's like whatever. Anyways, on to the new movie. Apparently they said that they're ending the franchise, but of course
Yeah,
they
right.
can't just end the franchise. They say like we're ending the franchise with a micro trilogy.
Oh
So they're supposed
God.
to be making two more of these after this. And
So X part 1, X part 2.
yeah, yeah. So in order to do that, they basically structured this movie as if it was like the beginning of a trilogy.
Right.
Um, and I'll say one thing that these movies are completely overbloated now. Like there's too many characters. They refuse to kill characters, and when they do kill them, they bring them back. Every single villain that they've introduced, I think since like part 5 or 6, the following movie they become some sort of ally.
Yeah, they're brothers.
And each time they add on a new ally, they bring on a new villain. And then that villain, either they die or they have some sort of sibling or relative that becomes an ally or villain later on. And they just keep adding to this puzzle. And now they're at a point where they have too many characters. There's too many. There's like 4 or 5 different stories going on in this movie at the same time. And like maybe one or two of them are somewhat entertaining, but the other ones are yawn inducing. And it's like they just don't know the series doesn't know what it is anymore. It used to be dumb fun. Now it's just dumb. And I think I mentioned the last one I saw, which was part 9. I saw that one in the theater. I think I mentioned that I actually started falling asleep during that movie. And that's because the action is so numbing and so boring at this point, that it's just it does nothing to catch my interest anymore. Um, so I'm not going to get into particulars with this movie. There's too many. There's too many things. Too many things, and I didn't care enough. I kind of watched it like out of the side of my eye. I was doing other things in the room while that thing was playing, and from time to time I would glance over. I was like, "Yep, that's dumb," and keep going. And there was some instances where I would watch. I guess the main thing that they added into this was once again a new villain who is a relative of a past villain. Go
Ooh.
figure. Played by Jason Momoa,
Oh,
Aquaman.
yeah.
Um, he was a lot of fun in this movie, but he's a freaking cartoon in this movie. Like he is not like he is so his character is so dumb. Dumb, not that he's dumb like he doesn't do smart things, but just he's just laughing the entire time. This is like comic book villain stuff
Uh,
here. And it's like this is not a real character. This is not a real character. So, while he was entertaining, it was just a guy chewing the scenery the entire time. And it's like I no, I don't I'm not interested in any of this. But then to get to the ending, this movie ends on like 3 or 4 different cliffhangers. Like there's all these characters like, oh, did they die? Did they not die? Is this character dead? What's this going to happen here? Like they have all these different things that they just leave open ended at the end of this movie, and they've never done that before, and that's why I was like, okay, they're clearly planning on making another one of these. Um,
right.
by the end of it, I was so exhausted by everything that had happened. I didn't care about any of the characters. I didn't care what happened. There was a character that died. I didn't even care that they died. Like it's just like I
You
don't
didn't cry
care.
a little bit?
No,
Oh, what a
no,
heartless man.
there's no tears. So, um, I I,
Uh,
I hate to say, I would say Fast and the Furious. It started out okay. It got really dumb. It found its voice at part five, and then it should have ended at after seven, which is the last one that Paul Walker was in before he died. It should have ended there. And they just the money, they wanted to keep the money coming flowing in, so they just kept making them. And that's where the creative juices for what the series, what it did have, what made it unique and what made it people like it, just went away. I think they should have just ended it there. It would have been a good send off for the franchise. It would have been a good send off for Paul Walker. Like just be done with it. But because now they don't even try to make excuses why Paul Walker's character is no longer in these movies. They made the excuse before that, oh, he was off like with his wife, but his wife is now in these movies with his kid, but he's not there.
hmm.
It's like, well, where is he? They don't even make mention of like, oh, he's on vacation. It's so lazy. They don't even care. So
uh,
I don't know.
it's like a good horror franchise. Just run it into the ground until it stops making money.
I think this one did make less money this time. So
Finally.
if they're, and it's funny, like it's starting to fall off when they're like making a dedicated trilogy for it. It's like, oh god, it'd
Uh,
be even better if they get to a point where they just can't make them. But
yeah.
it's like, oh, there's so much for the trilogy. I
Yeah,
I would
it's
I would I would not be surprised if we hear that the next one is going to be the last one, and they're not doing a third one. I would not be surprised if that happens.
yeah, they're running into all the horror tropes. Like pretty soon
Yep.
it'll just be called like the final or
Yeah.
final Fast and the Furious final and
The
stuff
the
dropping
the
numbers.
Furious Final,
Yeah, there you
like
go.
final fast something, or yeah,
Final tune up. I don't know.
final two.
What kind of cliches can you come up with?
I don't know. So yeah, if you are out there, anybody out there listening, watching, whatever, and you're still interested in watching these things, I would suggest turning elsewhere. This movie's a mess. It's not worth your time.
Great.
So, couple other smaller things here. I did see my first Christmas movie of the season. It's called, and in true fashion, it's a horror Christmas movie. I saw it's
Yes.
called Christmas Bloody Christmas.
Christmas bloody Christmas.
It's an exclusive on Shudder, the horror streaming
Right.
service.
Right.
Um, I think it came out last year. It came out last year. Uh, the premise of this is a small town, and apparently there's been like this production service of these robotic Santa Clauses that
Robotic Santa
that were
Clauses.
sent out as like marketing materials for something at toy stores.
Great.
And the idea behind them, and this is of course really absurd but kind of funny, is that they are decommissioned robots that were originally planned to be used by the military.
Oh, sure. Why not? Makes
Yeah,
sense to me.
the premise here, they make certain leaps, of course, to get to the point where like this plot makes sense, I guess. Um, and in the small town, their one toy store has one of the Santa Clauses in there, and just for no reason whatsoever, we're not given any indication why it decides to suddenly become murderous. It just starts going on a murder spree. Now, I will give this movie I give this movie quite a bit of credit because the first like 20 to 30 minutes, this movie lost me because it was so much like characters just talking about nonsense. Like, let's get drunk. No, I want to go get drunk over here. Oh, let's go get high. Okay, I want to go get high over here. It's like the grungiest of grunge characters,
Yeah.
and it's like what it's like, and they start all they talk about alcohol, drugs, sex, alcohol, drugs, sex, alcohol, until eventually they have alcohol, drugs, sex. It's like, okay, we get it. You guys are into alcohol, you're into drugs, and you're into sex. We get it. And we get like 20 to 30 minutes of this nonstop. And eventually, once this Santa Claus guy, once he comes to life, basically, and he gets his first kill, the movie actually became really good, in my opinion. Uh, and it's something it's like a mixture of things where it feels a bit like a mixture of the movies It Follows and The Terminator, where we have no
Okay.
indication why this thing is targeting. There's one girl specifically, for some reason it's targeting her. We don't know why. So that's how he decides where he goes throughout the town. Um, and the Terminator vibe basically comes down to how they, as they're fighting this thing off over the course of the movie during Christmas Eve, of course, um, that it just systematically gets more and more worn down, much like the Terminator did. And you start seeing this mechanical parts and things like that. Because at first it's just a guy walking around in a Santa Claus outfit that's pretending to walk like a robot. And it's like that's a little bit cheesy, but um, it really did turn the tide once the murder spree started happening. Because the one thing I really appreciate about horror movies is when they just don't give a flying f. And like this movie, like this guy, like they don't do hesitations. You know how killers would sometimes like hesitate and play with their, like this guy just walks into a room and kills people, like just systematically, like you would expect a robot to do. Like
Right.
there's no thought behind it. Sometimes he takes his time. It's almost like he takes time in enjoying the kill after it's happened. Um, but they did the one thing that like tells you that it's no holds barred in a horror movie, where the Santa Claus kills a kid.
Yay,
Like he
finally.
he buries his axe in the kid's head and they show it. Well, like I was like, okay, this movie don't get this movie just don't care.
Right.
Um, uh, and the other part of it, like one of the girls who in the beginning, like I said, all the talking was obnoxious after a while. Um, I actually think she turned into a pretty successful protagonist at the end. Like the girl that's always running away, this thing's killing everybody that's trying to help her. Like she actually did pretty good by the end. Like in her acting and her resourcefulness in trying to survive. So,
Hmm.
um, this is a pretty good recommendation for me. If you're looking for a horror Christmas movie, if you can get through those first 20 to 30 minutes and just stomach that stuff for a little bit, you're gonna get yourself a really good slasher type movie here. Um, I and I love that they didn't try to give the robot Santa a personality. Like
Oh, right.
he literally is just a robot. He doesn't say anything. He doesn't do anything. He doesn't have different looks. He's just on a mission to kill. That's it. And I really appreciated that. So, yeah,
Wow.
yeah, uh, yeah. It's I don't know. I'd say it also has pretty good production value. They made the really weird decision to use a lot of black lights for their lighting in this movie, which is
That's
also
weird.
a little bit obnoxious. Because you start to realize every single place, store, building they go into has black light. It's like, why? It's like, oh, that was a production design decision, I guess. But beyond that, I think the production of it's pretty good. Uh, they unfortunately didn't have real snow, so you could totally tell they were using the fake snow machines, like
Right.
the suds and stuff like
Yep.
that. um, but I think given that I think this was like a Shutter exclusive, like they made this movie, they funded it and everything. I think they did a pretty good job with the budget that they had. So
Huh. It's funny you mentioning the girl that this is kind of lame and then becomes like the last survivor and becomes
hmm
strong. I
yeah.
I just recently within the last month, I think, found out that trope. They call it the final girl
Yeah.
trope. And I actually have, I found when I was traveling, there's a board game called Final Girl. And it's actually based on that trope. So you get the core box, which has just the stuff in it, but
Uh-huh.
then they've got a bunch of different games that you have to pair it with. Like they can't be played separately, and each
Oh.
one is like a movie. So, like, one of them's like the spooky ghost killer. The one I have is the generic, like, he has a pig mask, axe wielding at a, they call it Camp Happy Trails. And
Hmm.
so it's a bunch of people at a camp. One of them's like Nurse Ratchet in a psychiatric ward. But they
Hmm.
all tell these different, not stories, it's the board game, but they have these different tropes like that. And they all play out kind of the same way, where it was kind of fun. You could probably appreciate that. You have your health trackers and whatnot, and then when you're on your final health token and they die, you flip it over, and sometimes it has more health. So it's like the killer coming back to life in the movie, like that kind of trope where you think you've killed him, and then he comes up with like the knife through the ground. But that's where I was introduced to the whole final girl
Hmm.
kind of trope. I never even knew that was a thing, that there was
Wow.
actually a name for it. But yeah,
Huh.
it's a whole board game series. It's pretty fun, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, you just reminded me of that.
Okay. Cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The final girl thing. I think there's even a movie out there called The Final Girl or something like that. Like
Of
they
course
just
there is.
they just named a movie after the trope at some point.
Just skip right to it.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm the final girl.
The last thing I'm going to talk about here, and this one should be extremely brief, is I saw the latest South Park episode movie thing that they did called "Joining the Panderverse." I don't know if
Oh,
you've seen that.
no.
Um, this is the one where they dive headfirst into all of the topics of diversity and
Oh.
equity and inclusion in like the entertainment industry. And their number one target in this episode is Kathleen Kennedy. They are relentless in how they attack her in this thing. Relentless.
Hurrah!
Yeah,
Finally.
it's like they no holds barred, and they basically the overall, there's two, they always in South Park they always have two plots. There's another one where Stan's dad Randy det- determines that he no longer he and nobody else has skills to fix things, so they need to hire a handyman to come fix things, but the handyman's getting so much work because nobody knows how to fix things that he starts extorting money from people to pick one person over another to fix things. And the whole idea is that as a society we are too reliant on technology, nobody knows how to fix things anymore. um, and that's where that whole plot goes. But the other plot is having to do the diversity thing, which is that Cartman starts having nightmares at night that there's a multiverse, and in the other universe that all of the South Park characters have been replaced by diverse females.
Uh,
And he starts blaming Kathleen Kennedy because of what she's doing to Star Wars and Marvel. Like
she's the worst.
at one point during when he wakes up and crying from his nightmare and his mom comes in, he asks, he's like, "Mom, can you check under my bed, make sure Kathleen Kennedy's not under there?" The
uh,
funny thing is, I think this is gonna wake people up to who Kathleen Kennedy is, because when we were
yeah.
watching it, Rochelle was like, "Who the heck is Kathleen Kennedy?" And I was like, "Let me tell you."
And let me tell you.
So this is a conversation starter for people that don't know who Kathleen Kennedy is, because, like I said, they are so relentless with her. At some point, somebody's watching this, they're gonna ask, "Who is she?"
She needs to be ousted. That's who she is. We need to bring torches and pitchforks to her office and oust her.
So
God.
at some point, Cartman and his diverse doppelganger are swapped in their universes, and so like he gets sent over to the diverse universe, and they basically, the Cartman from the other universe is played by
Oh no. And we lose him right on the cusp. It's like a cliffhanger. It's like some horrible trope. that Riding is about to reveal the best part of the movie. He goes away.
I know. Uh, let me adjust myself again. Um, yeah.
Uh,
The good thing, I guess, the good news is that whenever that happens, I get back on here pretty quick.
that's true.
Like
Because I
it's
don't have any notes on FLICKS, so
yeah, yeah. But anyways, that happens, and then Cartman needs to try to get out of the universe he's in, and then the other the other his diverse doppelganger, I'll put it that way, is the funny thing is, like, she doesn't really care. She just wants to start playing Baldur's Gate 3 again. So like there's a whole subplot with her wanting to play Baldur's Gate 3. It's like, what?
Okay.
It's just so weird. Um but yeah, the way that they frame everything eventually is that Kathleen Kennedy used the powers of a thing called the Pander Stone
Panderstone?
that's in the basement of Disney,
Oh.
that's used to go in there and pander to audiences and give them what they want. And apparently she was getting so much hate mail that she kept using that Pander Stone to fight back against all the hate mail.
Huh.
And that's why everything, as Cartman puts it, has become lame. And that's why Star Wars and Marvel sucks and all that stuff. It it's all very South Parky. They do their normal stuff. They straddle a fine line there of like being overly offensive, but also kind of reeling it back a little bit. Um, yeah, but I don't know. If you're into South Park, you're gonna like it probably. But also, like, if you find yourself amiss in this political nightmare we find our world in right now, it's a pretty refreshing thing to watch and laugh at. So I feel like if you can watch this and you can laugh at it, you're doing okay.
You're doing okay. I think I'm doing okay.
Okay, there you go. But yeah, before I get disconnected here again randomly, I think that's it.
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
I believe so.
So I'll wrap us up here. Like as usual, you can find our streaming services. I'll have the links in the video here for anybody that's watching us. You can find our audio only version of this. I have to choose which audio version to pick. The one with all the interruptions on the live stream, or the one I'm recording separately. Oh my god. Editing myself took over my editing version of myself just took over there for a second. Sorry about that.
You're right.
But yeah, otherwise, if you're listening to us, you already know where to find us, so I'm not going to go over all that. But yeah, just remember, check out our YouTube channels. Mine's Gaming with Dweavis, and yours is Madcap888.
That is
Correct?
correct. It's still
Yeah,
floating out there. Someday
yeah.
I'll return. I promise.
Okay, okay. The Great Return.
The
We'll have
great
to make a
return.
big deal of that.
Yeah. We'll have hats and stuff.
Yeah, hats. I like hats. I like hats.
You do?
Yeah.
Yes. And there he goes. All right, in typical fashion, I suppose that's exactly how this episode should end. We'll see if we can get him back briefly, but he pretty much went through everything for the outro. I do know most of the outro, so I can handle that.
Yeah, I like they were like, nope, we're gonna get one more crash in there
One
first.
more in there.
Okay, so we're gonna end this now, folks. So thank you all for joining us. Yeah, until next time, we'll see you on Bits next time, I believe. So, yep.
One can only hope for a steady stream.
All right, bye everybody.
All right, catch you later.